And we are live and on the air. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel Yankees Outdoor Adventures. I am Machalon Oswick-Winot, and to my side here, whatever it may be, left or right to you all, is my guest today, Green Feathers. Thanks for coming back again, Green Feathers. I love having talks with you. You're very knowledgeable in the topics we talk about, and then I have fun talking with you on camera or on live stream and off live stream. So I'm just glad you come back again today. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. I do want to add, now today we're going to be talking about spirit animals, animal spirits. There's different terms for it. We'll get into all that. Things I do want to point out right away before we get too far into this is that, well, first of all, this is based on my personal opinion. No one person can speak for a tribe or a nation of people unless they are elected to do so. So please do not take this as in, I am telling you what every Native American does. I am telling you what this Native American was taught. And that's all I can share and express with you. So, I actually just kind of add it to your arsenal of knowledge, along with other places that you collect knowledge on these topics. What I really hope above all and anything else, guys, I know it's no longer Native American Heritage Month, but I truly hope that this encourages you that before you jump online and get your animal spirit name, take a moment and educate yourself about where that come from in the culture that brought that to light, and learn a little more about what it really meant to the culture that you're researching. Okay, that is truly my hope, though. Spirit animals, spirit guides, animal guides. These are terms that are used to describe spirits in nature. Also, want to point out, because with different tribes, it's in different ways, and with me particularly, not all spirits are animals. Not all spirits are animals. There's a lot of spirits in nature, and the spirits can be possessed in the trees and the flowers and the birds and the bees. So it's just really important to keep that in mind. These spirits are usually, and again, in my personal belief, and these spirits are usually helpful to someone. Okay, if someone in need of help of some type, a hard time, these spirits can bring strength, insight. They can even bring a sense or a feeling to the person in need. Okay, so it may be a spiritual connection in general that you have with the natural spirit, with that spirit being. In pop culture, this concept of interpretation of animal spirits is really loose, guys. I mean, it's really loose. It really focuses on one thing. It focuses on the face value, what I call the face value of the animal. And to give a quick explanation of that is a bull is strength. That's kind of the face value. So if I see a bull, or the bull's my spirit animal, it's about strength. And it may not be so much that. There may be other nuances throughout the spirit animal that you're not looking at. And pop culture kind of stays pretty one-sided. And usually, it just identifies with a strength or something that you either want to possess or you feel you already possess. So you compare yourself to that animal. And in many online sources today, they'll help you identify your spirit animal or find it within yourself. Unfortunately, these sites, they often fuel the misunderstanding of how a spirit helper actually works. And in some cases, it's actually can be just disrespectful to Native culture. So again, I do hope that this topic today really encourages you to, instead of leaping out for an animal spirit name, leap out for learning about animal spirits. Boy, I know I rambled a lot. I think, what we're going to do is I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the experiences I personally had, and talk about some animal spirits that I feel in a way, have guided my life. And again, I use animal spirits very loosely. I never proclaimed an animal spirit. Um, I know, or in my belief, the nature is full of spirits. So it could come to you in many, many ways. Um, One thing I'll mention in experiences, I have actually had closer spiritual connections with trees than I have had with animals. Not that I haven't had spiritual connections with animals in the past, I definitely have, but I've actually had more with trees. I'm that guy that you catch sitting and stopping and having to lay his hands on the tree, and I'm there quiet for 10 minutes with the tree, and but there's something more going on that y'all don't realize. It's one of the things that really talk to me in the woods. It's why I love big old trees. Always have. Um, Green Feathers, I know you have different spirit guides. I know you have one particular spirit animal that likes to help you along as well.
That's right. Well, let me continue off of where you were saying with the trees as well, because a friend of mine, Ken Littlehawk, who really knowledgeable Mi'kmaq and Mohawk native speaker around these parts, he has a great lecture on YouTube about the trees and the way in which they are the lungs of the planet. So, that old expression, the tree hugger, there's no shame in being a tree hugger or contemplating the
I'm just waving
many
at Gemma.
the many years that, oh no, that's okay. Hey Gemma, how you doing today? The many years in which so many of these trees have been here and what they retain, uh, it's not dismissible in many regards. Like the forest is a composition of neurons in the brain of the earth, and they're firing energy from the past into the future. And guess what? It gives us air, gives us shelter, everything associated with the woods for us and the animals. So there is a lot of power in one tree and in any tree. So I would not necessarily go out to the internet to seek any sort of like spiritual guide or animal in that regard. As a viewer of this program, don't walk away and go to Google and look up what is my spirit animal by any means. Me and Yankee are telling you, please do the opposite. Go out into the woods and find a tree and just maybe sit and pray
Well,
and meditate
and
and engage with
that
that
brings us
that life and the life force around you. Don't.
and that brings you back to, I mean, part of my personal teaching. So, a spirit helper isn't something that you choose. See, I can already tell you, if you picked your spirit animal because you chose it as your spirit animal, then you didn't pick a spirit animal, because it isn't something you can choose. The spirit helper isn't something you choose or identify with, but rather it's something that comes to you. It chooses you. It identifies with you, not the other way around. So that's where it's a really important part to realize. You got to open yourself up to this connection. This isn't black and white, right? I sit down and say, okay, well, I feel furious like a wolf. I'm a wolf. No,
That's right.
you
Yeah,
got to get out
that is not.
there.
That's not how it works. And
No, you got
uh,
you got to get out there, experience it. Let the spirits come to you. Let it come to you. Let it tell you it's your helper, and it will if you really get out into it. I think one of the reasons I encourage outdoors so much, guys, I truly do have a love for nature. It's that I hear these spirits talk in nature, and I know you can too, but you gotta expose yourself to that in order for that to happen.
that's right. It all goes back to biosynthesis. So many traditional cultures around the world, they understand what it is that we need as human beings, and it's aside from our connection with the creator, as day-to-day engagement with creation itself and all the elements of it, the plants, the animals, the trees, it sounds, vague when you go to sources that are not rooted in information that, pertains to you on a specific basis. If you go out and you feel like Yankee said, oh, I'm brave, so my spirit animal is this and that, those sources that you go and seek your own confirmation bias will tell you that. But you go out into nature, it's raw experience, and it's the engage with the you know the elements in the raw form, all five of them. So in many regards, that fifth element, that animal magnetism, uh, some people call it chi. In Christian eschatology, it could be referred to as the Holy Spirit. It's the biosynthesis that traditional cultures hold, the love for your fellow man and your fellow animal.
That's right. That's right. And let me jump again. Just say hi, big hi to Gemma, Mike, and Wild Animals. It's great to have you guys in there. If you have anything you want to add, please do so. Wild Animals mentioned that she is a tree hugger, and I don't see anything wrong with that.
I'm a tree
trees
hugger.
are life too. All life needs attention. Yeah, spirituality in many indigenous cultures is about a relationship to everything around you. It's not ever the relationship to one thing, it's your place in it all. And this would include the plants, the animals, the plants and animals because they provide you food, the land because it provides a place for your home, the weather was also another thing, that was always that highly thought of because it's what made your living possible. You can't have too much of any type of weather or there goes life, right?
And sometimes animals and weather would be associated together. For instance, one tribe out west, the Navajo, who I actually was fortunate enough to go and visit a little bit last summer, the summer before, and explore out there on it's sacred land here in the Americas, the Grand Canyon and the wider territory. It's considered a sacred voyage, a pilgrimage in a lot of regards to go out there. And even though my most recent native ancestors were from the Eastern Woodlands, if you go out there, doesn't matter if you're native or not, you will feel a hyper spiritual connection to the land because that's what it does to the human being. It gives you that perspective of so much beyond what we can see. And one totem or one animal and weather pattern which was coupled in that culture were thunder and bear, and the bear spirit was associated with the great thunder. So
and let me
that was
clarify
one.
real
That was
quick
one.
when
Mhm.
the word totem, just for anyone watching, because I think a lot of times people think it just goes straight to totem pole, and a totem pole is a totem. However, totems can be many things, and ultimately it's about the design of the creatures of the totem or of the spirits of the totem, I guess would be the
That's
proper
right.
way
It's not
to say
just necessarily the old expression like Yankee said, like a totem pole.
that. Totem
And
pole, right? Totem could be a
that
small
isn't even the
thing.
phrase that would be used in every culture. That's just what would be most palatable to some of our listeners. So essentially, a depiction of an animal uh, would represent different things. Sometimes these depictions would be carried in a medicine pouch. Again, that term is not applicable to every culture here on this continent, but these pouches would contain sacred items that may or may not be shown to every individual in that person's life, depending on their closeness to that person. Like, you wouldn't want to show your enemy something that would be considered of power to you or your ancestors, which you received or created.
You're right. I mean, there was and practically everything involved. every bit of life, every life, I guess would be the best way to say it, has a spirit. So you plant a seed, it grows a life. There's life. It's obvious. It's obvious to anyone that a life was formed. It may not be quite the same as you and me, but it is one. So possess type of spirit. So, when we're out and about, how could you find an animal spirit? And again, that's kind of a contradiction in itself, because an animal spirit finds you. You don't find an animal spirit. But if you were truly wanting to search for an animal spirit, an animal to guide you, I'd have to say, first of all, you have to open your eyes to what animals hanging around you, because a lot of times you might not you might not recognize your spirit animal. I'll tell you a story here. I'll tell you a quick story. And I'm not thinking like normal society of animal spirits. I was thinking more of my teaching of animal spirits when one day field mouse, you all know what a field mouse is. It kind of looks like a house mouse, but he lives outdoors as a field mouse. A field mouse was in the camp where I was setting up with a friend. This particular friend was he was a bodybuilder, a real big old brawny boy, and the field mouse kept running back and forth to where he was at. And I said, well, man, that's your spirit animal. And I just meant that as he should stop a minute and follow him, see what he's trying to tell you. And he got offended, because here he actually took that as me making a crackpot at his size, as if he wasn't big enough. He was puny like a mouse. And I thought, no, man, if I said that to a Native American, he wouldn't have thought that way. He would have been like, he probably would have got up and followed the mouse, like I suggested. But it's not necessarily about the creature itself that comes to you. And I think that's the whole point with my story. As I had to explain to him, I wasn't trying to be offensive. The fact of the matter is, it could come to you in any animal form. Any animal could be an animal spirit helper in the culture. So, yeah.
I
Inspired
agree.
John, welcome. Mike's still here. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, going off of where you said though, your personal relationship, and your awareness and your openness to those forces is definitely key to having an awareness of anything, any bit of information that you're seeking about anything. So how open are you to that information and to that energy? So when it comes to your relationship with animals or with other species or anything, sometimes when it comes to the spiritual aspect of your relationship with those creation, they can come to you in dreams. For me, I don't speak on behalf of other members of any group, but there's instances in which I'll have a dream and I'll go out a few days later and I'll encounter the animal from that dream. I actually just had a conversation with Yankee earlier in the week about fox. Sometimes it works in seasons where you'll have a reoccurring animal coming to you quite often, and it doesn't always necessarily line up with a season of the year. You'll say, oh, that's because you see deer a lot in this time of year. That not necessarily.
Right.
Like, let's just say you're having a lot of dreams about a skunk, and then you're going out, and the whole year you're seeing a skunk's coming to you every time you go out into the woods and running up to you. Like, I have stories like that, but not that specifically. One animal which has come to me like pretty cool like that in a very powerful kind of spiritual connotation sense is a red-tailed hawk. I would say herds of deer as a whole also are very otherworldly. They connect me very strongly to a sense of the past with my ancestors. When I go and I sit in the fields or in the woods and I know that there's a herd of deer or I see a herd of deer around me.
Green Feathers, let me point out, Wild Edibles had mentioned about the magic of medical plants and whatnot in the woods. Kind of fall along the lines of foods as well. But when medicine plants were harvested, and again, for not every single culture, but for some. When the plants were harvested, the spirit of the medicine plant was acknowledged, okay, many times in the harvest. I think I pointed out to you guys once before in one of my videos, but when Native American harvested medicine, they didn't go out and find the plant and pull it, okay, or take from it. Instead, it was a ritual in itself of finding the medicine. You would go out and find the plant you needed, okay, and to that plant, you wouldn't hurt that plant. You would more or less communicate with that plant. You would explain the sickness to that plant. You're talking to the spirit of the plant, essentially. You're going to explain the sickness to that plant. You're going to tell the plant what you need and help of other medicine or medicine that you're going to harvest, and then go searching medicine, and the spirit of the plant's going to lead you to the medicine. Okay, and you want traditionally you wouldn't even harvest the second; you would harvest the third. Find is what you would harvest. Now, it's the third one, you kind of preserve the life of the medicine. So, but it was done not looking at it as looking at it as a spiritual culture thing to do. So when we mention plants and medicines, they too possessed a spirit, just as if animals and you the type of things outdoors, your spirit helper itself may dwell within those plants, those medicinal plants, because they're the ones that talk to you. You find them so regularly, they call to you. So I'm just saying, they could be your helper lies right there. Welcome, my friend. But you got the very beginning. Valuable points of where the main goes. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'll bring it up again. You go your main name. You're really what you're really doing is cherry picking little nuance of a culture and adopting that. There's so much more that goes to spirit, a natural spirit guide. There's so much more that goes to that people just cherry pick a name and identify with it. Again, it needs to identify you with it. That you really have less to realize. That's the hard part. That's the hard part for a day thing way. I think that came easier to not make yourself the most important. You're going out into the woods at the realm. You're not the most important thing. You're there to learn. The thing's almost important. Green feathers. That's right.
Forgot to anytime you go out,
say hi to Green Feathers and say hi to local the RV, Loca.
Anytime you go out into the woods and you engage with in that regard of taking the information in an educational sense and in a interactive sense, you're not just going out into the woods then, you're learning. It's a constant learning process. Whatever you're encountering, you're learning. And then over time, you accrue a certain amount of wisdom from the observations of the animals and the plants and things that you witness and engage with. And obviously, cultures that lived more intimately with nature directly had more of this knowledge. today, some of the groups that some people might be familiar with refer to this knowledge as Gnosis. That's spelled Gnosis, and it essentially means like earthly wisdom, wisdom that comes from the earth and its creation, that we can acquiesce and acquire in this life and use to propel us further into a more spiritual state that's beneficial for us and that creation itself. So in that sense, the symbiotic nature of information itself comes full circle, like the water cycle. So, we as human beings being 70% water, why are we surprised that information, which is the realm in which we engage, operates in a similar regard? So, a lot of it goes back to those sorts of concepts, and it's very philosophical. And I can't speak on behalf of native cultures because, again, I'm someone of native descent, but I can't speak on behalf of the cultural nuances that existed here when my full-blooded Lenape ancestors walked here. What I interpret off of the wisdom that exists, that I encounter and that you do, is that the forces that be are definitely welcoming us into that realm to learn. So, go out and seek that wisdom and use it for good, for sure.
Definitely. And that's what you have the ability to do, if that's, and again, you named it all right there, when it's a culture, it's a way of looking at the universe. And some people could even refer to it more on the lines of a religion. It becomes such a thing in some aspects. So again, in order for a person to have let me see, I don't know if that would be a good comparison, so I almost stopped myself. Maybe it would be kind of the same to say, well, I want to go to the Christian heaven, but I'm not going to do anything Christian. But I like that crucifix, so I'm going to wear one of them. And it more or less, it's the same thing. I mean, it's nitpicking something. If you're nitpicking out one thing without taking time to understand the full belief that goes along.
You can't just use the symbols and physical manifestations of the ideals of any culture to just blindly, and definitely playfully insinuate anything about your own nature. Like, that's why so many, there's so much sensitivity in regards to culture today because of that. So you need to have an awareness in what you're talking about, or else you yourself, unless you are of good intention and you're just not knowledgeable on things, it's better to learn first before you speak in that regard. Don't just go out and, like we said, Google search, like, what is my spirit animal? And then go out and you're like, I got a gigantic tattoo of a hawk on my chest because that is my spirit animal. Like, no. Spend the next years contemplating all of these things that we're discussing and more that you can learn, and don't do anything so serious until you learn. So
it doesn't take that much to learn. Let me Inspired John come in late, and he didn't get a chance to hear who you were, and so I just do want to introduce you one more time. Green Feathers has a YouTube channel. He just doesn't do much, really.
Yeah, I don't have much up right now. Sorry, guys.
I'm trying to get him to create an arsenal of videos since he doesn't care about uploading, trying to get him to create an arsenal of videos and then wait and upload them, in a pattern. But anyway, yeah, we'll get back to more of that. But Green Feathers does have a channel. He could blow one up if he decided to just do a archaeology channel and take people.
I know. I definitely am going to utilize my abilities for that, Yankee. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know, man. Well, and anybody, if you have not seen any of the Native American Heritage Lives that we were doing last month, Green Feathers was with me for a few of them, two, three of them, and he shared a lot of his finds that he had. So they're good shows and they're doing really well. So jump over and check them out and see what they're about. And Hiking Deep, welcome to the stream, brother. Great to see you here. You know when I seen you come in because I raised your chief up there. That would be cool. Green feathers. Yeah, green feathers would be able to do some good videos on, like I said, the archaeology stuff. I think that would be some. I think that would be some good content, man. I think everybody would like it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share what I found with everyone. And it's a touchy subject. I had a conversation earlier with a fellow native about artifact reclamation and things like that. And for me, it's about showing others and preserving the past before it's lost. Like there's so much underneath the cities that we can't see. So before this state is developed into a city, I'd like to share what's out there with everyone, so that they know what's here.
Well, we're going to wrap up here anyway. But guys, check out his channel. I'll get a link in here in the near future. I'll put one in the description. I know there's not one in there right now. Definitely. Yeah. So we can get into a whole other thing when we start talking about the archaeology of it all, because that's a two-way street also. You have individuals like yourself who like to share and explore and express all that knowledge that can be learned. And then you have another whole group of people that really feel that you're messing with the spirits of it and you need to leave it alone. And so, it's just such a crossroads.
Just to catapult off of that and conclude on one thought is that for me, it's connecting to what we were talking about this whole time, which is that knowledge out there and sharing it.
Definitely. All right, guys. SM Gamer, sorry I didn't shout you out. A big hello to you, my friend. It is great to be here. My spirit, bear and raccoon. They are awesome animals to have hang around. No doubt.
Yeah, raccoons are really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, again, the best way to connect to nature and to find what spirits speak to you, may they be in the air or in the trees or in the land or walk upon the land, the best way to find those creatures is to get out and immerse yourself into that nature surrounding, do some meditation, do some connecting. Why not? Hug a tree. See if it does anything for you. See if the tree talks to you. You've looked at trees all your life. Have you ever really just laid your hands on it and felt the vibration of a tree? It has one. What? It does. Until our trails meet again, I hope all your adventures are awesome. Green Feathers, we'll have you back on again. You go to boot camp soon, though, don't you? They're shipping you off soon, ain't they?
Soon enough. That's right. Yep. I'll be off soon enough. But you know what? Before that time period, I'll definitely try to get as much content out there as I can, and even during and after that period, I'll be in constant contact. Thank you guys for watching.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you, everyone. Get out there and connect, guys. Much love, and we are